On today's episode of Surface of the Sun, we are powder coating a pair of, I believe these are Hayabusa maybe, wheels, motorcycle wheels. Pretty much run-of-the-mill powder coating except for the masking. The masking on motorcycle wheels is very important. One thing I want to point out here, this is the front wheel, as you can see, okay? Has brake rotors on both sides of the wheel. This surface needs to be masked. And the reason that is if I powder coat this and I get a little more over here than I do here, the brake rotor sits crooked, okay? And what that does is when the wheel rolls, it knocks the pads back, opens the pads up on the caliper, and causes the guy to have to grab more brake than he normally would. The brake lever travels further because you have to get the pads back to the rotor before you can stop. So, and then it makes the brakes pulsate because the rotor's wobbling, okay? Very important that you mask this. The register has to be masked, all right? So on this wheel, we're pretty much masking from this edge, this whole surface, okay? Both sides, for the most part. I think we're actually going to try to leave this angle and this flat surface. I'm not sure yet, but I think that's what we're gonna do. And on the rear wheel, you have some of the similar, okay? You have a brake rotor on this side. See this little edge right here? That little edge indexes the rotor on the center, to center it up on the wheel. If you powder coat the edges of these, the guy can't get the rotor back on because it's now you've made that register bigger in diameter. No good. Same way with the soft drive. This is a soft drive. Basically what happens here is there's a rubber piece that goes in between those fingers and this, and it dampens the sprocket, basically, dampens the drive system, okay? This side has the sprocket on it, same thing. We don't want to powder coat this register. We don't want to powder coat these flats. And we sure the hell don't want to powder coat inside there because there's a bearing that goes in there, both sides have to be masked. That's pretty much the gist of it. This job is going to be a lot of masking, and I'll bet it takes an hour, maybe an hour and change to mask it. And I may do, I may record that, you know, or some of it, at least one side, just to show you how that's done. But we're going to do these today. Well, this is the first job we're going to do. We're going to do a lot more than this today, or we should have stayed in bed. But we're going to get these going, and we'll show you the process as it goes along. All right. I wanted to show you how to mask these dudes that have the returns here. You know see how it comes up? Well, we want to mask that so the guy's brake rotor fits back on there, okay? And how I do that is like this. Okay, the first thing that, I'll start even from the beginning. I put a plug in there when I blasted it so I don't blast the inside of the bearing race. You don't want the bearing to be loose or tight or whatever. I just don't want to mess with that. So I plug it, I don't have to worry about that. You want to kind of blast the surfaces you're going to tape. It's just a good rule of thumb because it cleans it. Your tape sticks good. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do, you're going to tack rag, I call this. You're just gonna, you know, I already did all of these before, but I'm just gonna do it again so you guys can see what I'm talking about. You're gonna tack rag, okay? And you're gonna go everywhere to try to get any smuck off of there. There's not any on there because I already did this, but if you do that, blast the part, use the tape, your scraps of tape, you'd be surprised what's on the tape. You're like, whoa, makes a big difference in the tape staying on. Make sure you use your teeth to cut it too, because that's important. It'll fall off if you don't do that. It's very important. Don't listen to your mom. Don't bite that bottle cap off. Probably not a good idea. All right, so if you notice, I'm using a spool from a tape, okay? And that's what I use to push it down with, all right? So I'm kind of rolling it around that. You gotta remember, this is curved because that makes a circle, right? So it's curved. So if you can see, right here, doesn't want to lay in the corner. Right here, it doesn't want to lay in the corner. We got to make a relief cut there, okay? There's going to be a little manual scraping to get a tiny little bit out of the corner, but It's not a big deal. So what I do is this. I push it into one corner, okay? So it's lined up with the metal on the side, and I make an upcut. I drop the blade in and I cut up, okay? And then while it's pushed over there, you can actually make your relief cut now. You can go about 1/8 inch or so in and just make a little cut in the corner, okay? Then you're gonna take your roll and you're gonna push it into the other side, right? You're gonna do the same thing. You're gonna make your upcut first, and then you're gonna make a little relief cut. Boop. Then we're gonna take the top off. Make sure you have 15 cups of coffee before you do this too, like I did. Jesus. All right, you wanna make sure that stays in there, because if it's not in there, you're not following the edge, right? And we're gonna cut around here. Now you wanna cut this right on the edge, okay? And I'll tell you why here in a second. You wanna do-si-do around here to this other side. And then we're gonna finish the cut. Bitch. All right. What I like to do, okay, let's say this hole's a hole that stops, right? It's a blind hole. It doesn't go all the way through. I don't know if it is or not. It doesn't look like it goes all the way through. I like to put a little poke. I didn't do this one either. The reason why is because the air in there, when you put it in the oven to preheat, it's going to expand. You don't want the air expanding and pushing your thing off. You know, the whole idea is to keep the tape on there. You know, it's a pain in the butt to put that on there, just to say. So that pretty much covers how you do that little radius, or how I do it anyway. If you guys got any better ideas, feel free to share it, because this is one of the worst parts of this, you know? I mean, what did that take? A minute? So you got 5 minutes there. You got to, and then plus the tape is not cheap. It's Captain Tape. So, you know, you just got, when you look at stuff like this, you've got to make sure that you charge accordingly. I have the soft drive hub to do now. This is done. Doesn't get anything on the other side because it's soft drive. So we're in good shape. All right, so this is a pain in the butt. Normally, I would set the tape on here, cut it, drop it down, and it would fit in the groove. But the problem is you got this bevel, so you can't really do that. So I'm kind of doing that anyway. Not long enough. Terrible. All right, we'll use that. This is what I mean by tack ragging it. This gets all the dew and dust from the blaster out of the surface. I know it looks clean, but that look clean to you? That might be causing your tape to come off. I don't know, maybe not. Maybe it's that you didn't rub it down that's causing it to come off. I'm not sure. But I know I struggled for a while with this tape not staying on. And even when you do all this, sometimes it doesn't want to stay on. I blame it on the metal sweating. Whew, that's barely on the edge, but that'll be good. So you want to use all the tape if you can. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of guessing here. I'm looking down there. I'm just trying to kind of follow the line, even though there's no line to follow. And I'm just cutting an arc in it. And it's raggedy looking, see that? Oh. But that's what you get. You just got to loop the tape back down on it and try to push it up on you want to kind of ramp it up a little bit if you can. Now the outside edge here has to be nice and flat, and then you can kind of push her down as you go around. See how I got it nice and flat here? All right, now you want to get your rubber. Right? If you can see this right here, see how that tape's red? Well, it's going to stay red, but it's light red. Now watch when I rub this down, how it changes. See how it's dark red phase? Let me do it like half in the middle of one of the big ones so you can see it a little bit better. Turn this around. Say you got dark red and light red. That tape's not adhered to the surface. This tape is. Just the way it is. This tape is pressure sensitive and you have to push it down. You have to rub it. That's just how it is. Ribbit, ribbit, rub it, ribbit, something like that. All right, so the other thing that you got to make sure with this tape, if you've never done this before, is that you cannot leave the edge hanging over, okay? You have to cut it off kind of like a window tint, which is what makes this a pain. So the good way to do it is to lay the blade way over. Like you see me got it, and you kind of jig the blade up and down just a tiny bit. As you go around the edge, it helps to keep tension on the tape, and shoop, there you go. You notice there's a bevel there, and I cut it past the bevel because we only have to mask the flat spot where the rotor goes. All right, that's pass number one. Now we got to keep doing that until we fill it all in. You see how it's ramped up a little bit? That makes sure that we don't get any in the corner, because we're going to go around that register with a skinnier, I got another tape that's cut thin, green. It's going to be Christmas time when I do this. Actually, it's going to look like that, because I've already done one. You always do the one side first and then do the second side on camera so you don't look like a jackass, just to say. I mean, if you want to know why I did that first. Because I wasn't sure how I was going to do it. Sometimes you just got to try it and see if it does it or not. All right, so you see the fun, you know, it's skinny. It's not the right width, but that's okay. The pushing it down and it being attached at the edge helps it cut better too. Because it doesn't move when you do your slight little oscillation. The tape doesn't move. And I like an X-Acto knife so I can maneuver it. Don't go to Home Depot and buy these blades though. Here you go. You go to your hobby store. This is if you're in Florida or anywhere, there's a place called Graves RC Hobbies in Orlando. Go in there, ask Mark for 100 pack of X-Acto knife blades. He'll charge you 15 bucks and you don't buy them for 2 years, 3 years, whatever. Don't go in there and buy them 5 blades at a time. And I mean, unless you're in a pinch. If you're in a pinch and you got to do it, then you got to do what you got to do. All right, now we're ready for our little fine line. This is a pain in the booty. And you finna see why. Because what we're going to do, we're going to have to be able to roll this a little bit. Now it's going to kind of maybe roll in and out of the shot, because I don't have the fancy move it with me camera yet, or gimbal, whatever the hell they call it. I think it's called an RS4 Mini by DJI. I use DJI mics, and I mean, they work pretty good, it seems like. So why not go with it? Can you guys see what I'm doing here? Yeah, okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do the same thing. I wanna kind of ramp it, but when I put this down, I wanna use my fingernail and rub it as much as I can to make that stay down, and that's important. And then what I'm doing, really what I'm doing, I'm judging by how much reveal. See how I got a little ramp? And I'm making that reveal stay the same as I roll it around in a circle. You don't want to let the tape get cattywampus. And I'm keeping about, if you notice, I'm just overlapping that by just maybe an eighth, a skinny eighth. And I'm going around. Now this will never stay on there until you complete the circle. And then once you complete the circle, you got it. All right, I'm a little bit past the circle. Now I want to cut it. All right, and you see how the green is kind of ramped down onto the red a little bit. That's about all the stretching and finagling that you're going to do with this tape. It just don't want to do it. It don't want to stretch. No, not doing that. If you got to have it to stretch or move around, you got to use the skinny blue tape, which is, where did it go? Here. When I say skinny, I mean thin. This stuff's thin, boy. Woo! I mean, there ain't much to it. And the red is the red's actually my favorite for taping flat things. You know, some people like what they like. Some people like the brown. Some people like the, you know, just the way it works. There's a brown tape that's very high temp. It's the most expensive one that they make. Now what I'm doing is I'm kind of holding the knife off of that register a little bit, and I'm just cutting the excess off. Okay, you cannot leave tape hanging over. If you do that, what happened to powder, I already said that, powder coat will ramp up on it. It'll leave a very sharp edge there. It'll do the same thing here. We don't want that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go around this edge, and we're gonna hold the knife just on the corner of that bevel, and we're just gonna feed the wheel around in a circle and trim that. Oop, it's stuck down, but it's coming. Trim that bad boy off. And there we go. It's sticky when you don't want it to be. And then when you want it to be, it falls off. Okay, that's what we got. Both sides. It's Christmas time at Hot Colors. Not really. It's like May or something. It's about to be roasting hot in Florida. That's why I always open my videos with welcome to the, or on this episode of the Surface with the Sun, of the Sun. Because if you're in Florida, you wake up in the morning, you feel like you're on the surface of the sun. There's no lie about that. Okay, another thing I wanted to show you, I'm gonna just jump ahead. See that? I call that a twisted eyelet, okay? And when you have to hang in a hole that's pointing up, that's flat, how else are you gonna do it without making a mark? So that's what I call a twisted eyelet. I'm gonna do a video on hanging and, you know, putting, you gotta get it on the cart, you gotta suspend it. You can't levitate it, right? So I'm gonna do a video on how you do the hanging part of it. All right, we're gonna take this over there and wrap it on there. This little booger was a pain in the butt. And the reason that is because there's a little flat spot right here. It's the same level as this all the way around. I didn't realize that when I first started looking at it. I was like, oh, well, that's terrible. So, but we did it. I mean, it was a pain in the butt. I ain't gonna lie to you. But this is what they all look like mass. That's the front one. That's the hub. I don't have the plugs in it yet. That's the back wheel with all the little things, and the inside of that looks funky because remember, I said I don't blast inside there. So I put plugs in it so that it doesn't get blasted. This side gets no masking except for the plug. That's it. All right, we're getting ready to spray these dudes, and just wanted to go over one thing with you. You see how it has a hole? That goes to the inside of the wheel, right? Well, I don't want you to look in there and see bare metal. We don't want a coat inside there, right? Same way here. There's this little thin slot you can see. There's 3 of them in between each one. We want to get a little coating inside there if we can. Well, this works good here, but not here. Well, what you can do is use this. Basically, you see you get a pattern if you have anything coming out, okay? That's because the fluidizing air is not on. You can always tell when something's a turd. And that was just a turd. That was a terrible demo of a powder cloud, by the way. All right, let's try this again with the fluidizing air actually on. Oh, here it comes. Look at there. Well, now we got something. All right, so see what we got? And you could buy this for $19.95 on the website on your screen. Or you could just cut a chunk out of a funnel like I did. Either way, you know. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna use this little pecker beak to get in there. Whoop, whoop, right? We're gonna be able to direct our powder right where we want it and not splather up the outside there. It's not what we wanna do. All right, so I guess we're gonna get to it. I'm gonna get my light. The first thing we're gonna wanna do is the inside. All right, so the first thing we wanna do is go to the inside, right? And we're just gonna spray around in there. You see how it's coming out of the rest of the holes when I do that? It's kind of what we're after. It's better to get something in there than nothing, that's for sure. That is for sure. It's kind of sort of working pretty good. Now we're done with that. We're just gonna go back to our regularly scheduled program that's already in progress. And at this point, we're just fluffing it up. This is color's called Stone Black. If you watch some of the previous videos, you've seen this color already. We did this color on the airboat. First video on the channel was done in this color. You probably have seen this before. It's a very popular color. I'm just trying to kind of do videos on things that people are bringing in. All right, that was kind of a pain in the butt. Didn't really go in there a lot, but we got it. That's part of spraying cold. You know, you gotta work at it a little bit more. And we are spraying these cold, and the reason why we're spraying them cold is because I spent about an hour and a half taping them. Preheating them, you take a chance on that tape shrinking and coming off. And this color Stone Black is I mean, it's your best friend as far as a satin black goes. It just does exactly what you want it to do. So there's no issues with it. So I like to try to, I don't know what I like to try to do. I'm just trying to powder coat this thing black like the customer wants. Might have just whacked that with my head. That's nice. Yeah, try that with paint. You'd be redoing that. Powder? Yeah, you just dust it back up. All right, this is gonna be a good thing for y'all to see. We're following that seam up right there. Try to get the inside of that seam. There's like a little lippity lip there. You're just trying to get it covered at this point. I mean, this is your first coat. I'm gonna double coat this, of course, just to make sure. I mean, really, honestly, nothing good, I don't think, ever was done in one coat. It's just, I mean, have you ever heard of a car painted in one coat? Besides those Mako boys, they might one coat you, but you might not like it when they're done. They might hook you up with one coat, but it's gonna look like it was done in one coat. And I just don't like the look of it. I can walk up to it. I've been doing this long enough where I could walk up to it and tell you if it's two coats or one coat. The single coat's just disgusting. I mean, I guess certain materials, there are very few. This actually is one of them. This one will do it in one coat, but yeah. It definitely looks better with two. I can tell the difference on this one too, but it'll do it and be acceptable on one coat. And there are colors out there that I don't care, you ain't getting them in one coat. That's just the way it goes. All righty, we got them Stone Blacked up for the first coat. Let's go around and look. Missed spots. Looking for holidays, which doesn't exactly matter on this coat, but I mean, if you can get it all, why not get it all, you know? All right, well, I think what the next step is, it goes in the oven. Gonna bring her up to temp. Another thing I'll show you, I don't like to bake my plugs, so I put them in loose so I can pull them, because it's not the plugs that I care about, honestly. What happens is, if I leave this plug in there, it makes a flashing right there around the edge of that hole. I don't like that. I want it to be nice and smooth. So if you take the plug out, the powder just melts smooth and you can't even tell anything was done. People look at it and are wondering how you did that. Oh, there's a holiday under there. Oh yeah. Somebody took a break on that one. I hit it again. I mean, are we just gonna keep headbutting it or what? It's like Headbanger's Ball in here. Sometimes when you got a tiny little brain, you'll run into the same thing 150 times. You got a skull bone that's about that thick and a brain about the size of a golf ball. Try to slide our plugs out. This one's gonna be tricky because I gotta try to grab a hold of it, but I don't put them in there tight, so I can do it. Boom. And there you go. All of our plugs are out and we're ready to go in the oven. We're just gonna slick it out, melt it up. Bring them up to, I would say, about 325, 350 in that range. Once we get them to that temperature, we're gonna pull them out, let them cool, And if there's any trash or things we don't like, we're gonna go and nib them, get all the little specks of anything that you don't like. We'll nib them with 320 paper, blow them off again, replug them, and dust them up. So that's coming up next. I guess we'll show you what they look like when they come out of the oven with the first coat. I don't know if you're going to be able to see on camera the difference between 1 coat and 2 coats, but you sure the hell can see it in person, I'll tell you that. All right, we're going to go into the oven with these bad boys and see what we get. Here we are after a quick nib. You can see just went around and just any little spots, we just flatten them out a little bit. You can see what it looks like. Now see, if I would have just planned on doing this in 1 coat, I would have had to live with all these little things that I didn't like. Why not get them in between coats when you can do it? It takes nothing. This didn't need any help. It's all good. But you can still see how it's glossy still because it's not all the way cured. Flat powders flatten at the end of the cure. So I even did a little sanding on the inside of the hoop where, quote, nobody sees it. Yep, that's what they look like. That's just the intermediate step in, you know, between the 2 coats. If you have anything that you don't like, before you put your final on, the 2nd coat, just nib it, just sand it a little bit. I like to use 320. If you got to really sand something, use 220 and then back it up afterwards with 320. And you'll be good to go. You got to use a fairly decent sandpaper. Can't use no junk, no Harbor Freight sandpaper, none of that. Problem with sandpaper, give you a quick rundown. All of the rocks have to be the same size. Let's call the little pieces of grit, let's call them rocks. Well, if you got 98% of the rocks are one size and 2% of the rocks are bigger, what's happening? What's happening? Those 2% dudes are just gouging into the surface and making curlicues everywhere. No good. You got to use decent paper. I like the 3M blue paper. It's not that expensive and it'll last a long time. You know, a box lasts in this shop probably 6 or 8 months, 50 sheets. I mean, I don't do a lot of sanding, so, you know, but all right, what we're going to do now is we're going to get set up to spray these and we'll put you back on the tripod and we'll put the 2nd coat on them and stick them in the oven. All right, we have coat number 2 going on here. We might want a little bit more than that. There we go. We got a little something going on. All right, we're going to go around to the side you guys can see first so we can show you something. All right, so what we're going to do is just going to put another coat on it. Pretty simple. I turned the gun voltage down. I sprayed the first coat at 50 kV, turned it down to 35 kV, turned the powder up. Basically what you're going to do every time on the 2nd coat. That's just how it works. You need to turn the voltage down and the powder up so that it doesn't back ionize. Both of those things help it not back ionize. All right, watch the magic. I got to turn the fan off though. You hear that noise in the background? As soon as I pull the trigger, I could tell the fan's on. That was my biggest fan over there, making that noise, letting me know it was going to blow all my powder away. Try to stay out of the shot so you can see it. Basically what we're doing is we're covering up all the shiny. See the shiny go away? Got to get it in the lip, the little corners all the way around. And this is basically what you're going to do on the 2nd coat. Pull our plugs, we have a nice smooth edge. We want it nice and smooth around that. And they're putting their bearings in and out and all that, it'll be perfectly smooth. We gotta get the ones out of the front, or this is the back wheel actually. You see that little ridge of powder that's around that edge on that plug? That'll be stuck to the wheel and it'll make a very sharp flashing that's sticking straight out. No bueno. No bueno. I like to pull the plugs. All right, back in the oven again. We're gonna bake it to full cure and we're gonna stick a fork in them because they're done. All righty, we'll show you what they look like here in a little while. Come out pretty damn good. You can see this is powder. The little shooter nozzle worked pretty good, don't it? Got it all down in there. But pretty nice. You can see the mask on that. Not much in the corner. Nice and smooth here, no flashing. The back one. I pull that tape off while it's hot because man, it'd be hard to get off when it's cold. Just gives you a pretty good idea.